on those sheets. You good? Perfect. Good evening, Bellingham, November 25th, 2024, 7 p.m. Board of Selectmen meeting. And on our agenda, 7 p.m. citizens input. I don't see anybody lined up for that. And then we'll move to the next thing on our agenda, which is we're gonna open a public hearing.
Yep, you can just read that.
Yep.
Public hearing.
Put my glasses on and I'll do.
Pledge of allegiance.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry, my bad.
No, it's okay.
I got excited. My apologies to everyone and
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
thanks for the reminder.
I'm scared.
My apologies again.
Around the public block.
Kind of carried on
You just want to get going, that's it.
Yeah, I know, right before Thanksgiving. Public hearing on allocating the local tax levy among the different classes of real and personal properties is provided for in chapter 797 of the Act of 1979. The Board of Assessors will present the options and impact of adopting different tax rates for residential, open space and commercial, industrial and personal properties.
Heidi and Betsy have been doing a tremendous amount of work on this and done a great job. But a lot of good information for you.
So here's tonight's agenda for the tax classification hearing. I'll need 5 votes. 1 for the residential factor, 1 for the small business exemption, 1 for the residential exemption, 1 for the water exclusion, and we'll also need to take a vote to continue the hearing. Purpose of the classification hearing. Before the tax rate can be set, the select board must hold a public hearing each year to consider the tax rate options available to the municipality under property tax classification. The hearing is held after the assessors have determined final values and classified all properties and reported this information to the Department of Revenue. The classification hearing does not determine how much money can be raised. It only determines the distribution of the tax levy among the property class types, also known as the tax share. And now I'm going to turn it over to Betsy.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Betsy Knoyer, and in the back here, I have 2 of my 3 board members, Sue Silva, Lynn Roy, and this is my assistant assessor, Tara Damian Stewart. Got it right. So I've been doing this for a long time, and I actually have goosebumps because I've never been able to say that we've ever had this much growth in 1 year. We're just a hair under 2 million. It's the most that we've ever gotten in my tenure here. And the reason we saw that growth this year, I can attribute it to a few things just on this hand. First off, we captured the growth on the 2 new warehouses at 152 Depot and 206 Mechanic. We also finished the Curtis Apartments, which up until this fiscal year was only a partial assessment. So we captured that as complete. We added 50 new homes to the tax rolls this year. Primarily, most of those came from the subdivision called Harmony, also known as Bellingham Shores, which is right before Center Street. This particular development, the homes started off a hair under 600. Now they're going, we've had some in the 9s, but primarily they're in the high 7s and low 8s. They're building them quickly. Sales seem robust, and they just broke ground on that last street, Clover. So it looks like sales are strong. I don't know how much I'm going to get for next year, but they're building quickly and it looks great. There's 33 homes left that haven't been started yet, 18 that are under construction. All of those will hit, I think, next year. The second major factor in the residential growth sector was the condo development called the condos at Bungie Brook. I don't know if anybody has seen them. They're fabulous. They're selling now for the low 7s. I mean, it's a beautiful development. I would dare say it's probably the nicest development that we have in Bellingham as far as condos go. They're extremely well done. There are 68 vacant slots left. There's several that are in flux. It's a 108 unit subdivision. They say they build as they get sales, but I think we'll see probably half of those next year and the other half in fiscal 27. So those are the major factors in our growth. There's been just a massive amount of building permit activity that we're just picking up. Central air, hardwoods, everybody's putting on additions, home gyms. We thought maybe when COVID was over, we'd stop seeing that. We're not seeing that. We're seeing a lot of apartments, in-laws, huge additions. We're seeing building. I got the building permits this year versus last year. We're a hair under what we were last year at this time, but it still looks pretty healthy. Now, as far as new growth for next year, I can just touch on that quite briefly, like I do every single year. And I just want to go over some components of what we're going to see for fiscal 26. I don't know if I'll be here to talk about it. 152 Depot and 206 Mechanic, while we did capture the construction on the growth, those are empty inside. So hopefully they get tenants and we'll pick up build out. When I mean build out, we mean bathrooms, office. We don't know what's going to happen or what type of improvements will go into those two warehouses. 85 Main Street is under construction. It's been demolished. That's a former Pete's Bluebird. It's going to be Lucille Steakhouse. Snet Trail Estates is a 6-lot subdivision, which is located off Lake Street. That will hit the tax rolls next year as individual lots. This year it was a portion. Red Mill Estates right over here. It's going to be, I think, 177 units. They have not recorded a plan yet, so that will not hit in fiscal 26. WS Development and 306 Maple Street are the only two warehouses that were grandfathered as of that last meeting. You're kicking tires on both of them. They're both been approved. I don't believe we'll see that growth in fiscal 26. It's important to note that when I pick up growth on anything, the plan has to be filed as of December 31st in order for me to tax it next fiscal year. I don't see anything coming down the pike where I can tax anything on these developments that I just mentioned. So I don't think next year I'll be sitting here saying we've got 1.9 million, but I feel confident based on the tools that we have, especially the working relationship that we have with all the inspectors, as well as some of the other forms of intelligence that we use to gather our data. I feel pretty confident that we're still going to see healthy growth. I just know it won't be 1.9 million next year. But we're busy and we've been extremely, the addition of a full-time data collector, assistant assessor has been just a huge asset in our office. Next year is a recertification year. So we'll be looking at every single personal property account. I've already started a review of all the vacant land. It's ongoing, but the 26th is when the state comes in and they actually do a field review and make sure that we're doing our job correctly. They spend weeks analyzing our numbers, but it'll be a good year. I have no doubt that they'll say we have great data. They typically do. And I'm committed to making sure that they'll say that again next year. Anybody have any questions on this?
Thanks for everything you do.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I do have a question, Betsy. So over Curtis Apartments, with the MBTA overlay being approved.
Yeah.
That really opens up the opportunity. I know they haven't submitted anything, but let's just say they add 2 more buildings. What does a building, just like one building, bring to us as a tax? Like if they were to construct just one of what they have there?
Well, the entire parcel is assessed at about 80 million. I think I
Okay.
got the land at like 7 million.
Okay,
And there's 5 buildings, I believe there.
okay.
So that would be some quick math, which I don't do in my head on television. But I can tell you this,
15 million would be the
yeah,
likely assessed value of one building.
right. And I'm using this strategy because both the overlays are two of our largest taxpayers are the Charles or whatever it's called now,
Yeah.
and Curtis.
Yeah.
And I intend to strategize and say that this makes them even more valuable than they are right now.
Mhm.
We've got rent rolls on both. Pretty impressive.
Betsy was talking about that just today, the impact that the overlay has on.
Yeah,
it.
oh yeah, that's what I was
Saying.
thinking.
Yeah.
What's the impact? So
Yeah.
you wouldn't know off the top of
I
your
don't
head
know
if it was
yet.
5 million.
I can't really, we don't
It's a
assess.
decent amount of money. I
It's a
would imagine.
huge amount of
Yeah.
money. I mean, the good news is that, both of these parcels, they're appealing their value, but they've been lying low since this past.
Mhm.
When I was dealing with the tax rep on Curtis, I mentioned the fact that I knew that this was going to be slated for an overlay and that they were looking to secure adjacent parcels. And he's like, what? And I haven't spoken to him since. So I'm hoping that with the passage of that article the other night, they'll both go away.
Okay, great.
It'll take a couple of years for that.
Yeah, I
to
would
get,
imagine
you
it
know,
would, yeah.
constructed, but.
That's good.
I'm optimistic.
Okay, thank you. That's my only question.
This next slide is, explains how the shift actually works. If you look at the column that's in peach, the 0.89, that is where we are currently.
Mhm.
And if you look in the middle, it says FY 25 average single family home. It's valued at $459,607. If we stayed at the current factor, tax bill would be $5,892. If you moved it to, let's say, a 0.88, it would be $5,832, roughly $50-$60 difference.
Yep.
So you're shifting more of the tax burden onto the commercial end of it, as if you move it to a 0.9, going to the left side, the tax bill would be $5,952. You would increase it by $60. And if you didn't have a shift at all, your tax bill would be $6,522. This next slide shows the impact of the tax shift on the levy. So we're currently at a 0.89. Our residential tax rate would be $12.82. The commercial and industrial would be $18.60. The personal property would be $18.53. The residential share of the tax levy would be 64.22%, and the commercial end would be 35.78%. The average single tax family would pay $5,892, which is an increase of $439 from last year. But the benefit of having the shift is $630. If you were to move it to a 0.87, the tax rate would be $12.56 for a residential, commercial would be $19.43, personal property would be $19.35, residential would represent 62.91% of the tax levy, and the commercial base would be $37.09. The average family tax bill would be $5,773, with an increase of $320 over last year. And the benefit of having the shift is $749, if to compare them that way.
I'm just doing some math. I'm not on my phone.
Okay.
Well, I know, because I don't like it, you know, that, okay, do some quick math. Thank you.
And then this next slide is the examples of the tax shift on the first two properties, a commercial, large commercial or industrial.
Yeah, Whole Foods means that entire plaza, by
Yeah,
the way.
okay, okay.
The next three are small businesses and the last three are residential. So we're currently at a 0.89. And Whole Foods increase would be 62,409, I believe. Can't really see that,
What-
right?
I can't really see it very well. Heidi, what would be the Whole Foods if we had moved the shift to 0.87?
It's
For the residential, yeah, what would it be? What's the increase? Is that 100,000?
Yes.
yes,
Okay,
it's
sorry, just a little-
100,712.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks. We need a little bigger glass.
In that particular instance, that's partially because their value went up.
Right.
If you look at Best Buy, for instance, their value has actually gone down
Yeah.
based on some of the large warehouse
Okay.
trends. So Whole Foods has gone up. You look at Best Buy, they have almost $10 million less, but their increase is only $29,000. Actually, it's a decrease of 29.
Yes, less.
Yeah, it's less.
And if you looked at the Bellingham Family Dental, if you were to make the shift to the 0.87, their tax bill would be $928, an increase over last year's of $928.
That really impacts the small business, doesn't it? So if you go from 0.89 to 0.87 as an example, is that what we're comparing, the 368 to 0.920? We're not, yeah, we are.
Yeah.
So their increase, if they stayed the same for a small business, is 368. If we
Exactly.
shifted to 0.87, it goes to 928 because they're under, yeah. I just think it's unfair to these small businesses. It's not our fault, it's state, we understand. They have to have more than 20 employees and so much in revenue.
No, under.
Under,
They're one that
under,
would
right.
probably fall into that.
One of the smaller ones would fall into that.
Yeah,
Right,
I can tell
I
by
think
looking
if you
at-
look at the David, spa here, this one probably falls under it.
David absolutely gets it.
Because the increase is only $388 for the 0.87 for the year.
The first 10% of that value will be exempt from the tax.
okay, right, yeah.
I
small
know this
business
particular
exemption.
business is on the list every year.
Good, okay.
And then the savings, if you used, Farm Street, it's a residential at the 0.87, their increase would only be 371. You have any questions on this one?
Obviously, this is the year where we did have an override pass, so that does have an impact on.
Right.
Yeah, well, that was my thought
Yeah.
process. We already passed on and we reached the deal.
And this slide is the historical factors that have been adopted by previous boards in the past. As you can see, we've been at the 0.89 since 2015. I just thought maybe you guys might like to see this slide.
Good info. Good later.
And then this slide right here is just showing that, we're still the lowest. We have the lowest tax bill in this region by $300 from Weymouth. And we're $1,938 lower than the state average. Which is pretty good.
But
That's
our
a
property,
good one.
but our
Right,
property values are significantly
Yeah.
lower.
Can we post this on our Facebook page by tomorrow, this particular page?
That slide?
Yeah, that's.
This
yeah.
one slide?
Yeah, there's a lot of information, I mean, there's a lot of questions out there. And when the people questions it, you know, some people, they can see where we stand, or where we haven't standing, you know, all these years.
It's a great statistic.
Yeah.
There's another slide, I'll
Thank you.
try and get to you, Karen. If you go to the Department of Revenue website and you just type in average single family tax burden, it has a map, and the map shows colors of ranges. Well, we're brown, everyone around us is blue, not just to the east or to the north, but to
Yeah.
the west as well, signifying that our tax bill is between 3 and 5,000, or average bill is between 4 and 6. I think everybody else is over that. You know, so it's not just Norfolk County towns, which is what this sheet shows. We're part of Norfolk County.
Yeah,
It's Uxbridge, it's Blackstone, it's Millville. You'll see all those towns have an average tax burden higher than Bellingham's as well. And that's two reasons. One, we've got the industrial development that we have, but also the split rate. Milford has a split rate, but aside from Milford, in our immediate region, I think we're the only community that has a
Yeah,
split
'cause
rate.
Franklin
That's even
doesn't.
better than
Franklin does it, which is
Franklin does not.
shocking.
Yeah.
No, they don't, and neither does Medway.
Think about all
Milford,
commercial-
Milford.
when you
Kind of
open
surprising.
when you open the conversation, you know, some of these are the things that you have to look at it. It's, I was talking to somebody, you know, who currently actually, works for, Medfield. And, last year, you know, it's, they decided to move to Bellingham, and then I was having this conversation with them, so I said, what was the, you know, the decision-making process for you as a young family? And, one of the things they mentioned was to be in taxes, and then, you know, it's, the school system is not, you know, it's obviously, you know, no difference than, you know, those towns, they looked at it. I mean, if you look at it, you know, it's, where the Medfield is.
Medfield number
13,000.
6 doesn't have a
Yeah.
split tax rate either.
Yeah, and then we have $5,400, you know, something that tells you, that some of the things that we do here, you know, something, you know, goes a long way. To save a lot of money to the residents.
It's a great statistic to have for the next town meeting.
Yeah, well,
Good publicity.
Thank you.
in May, it's one of the ones that we show in May. We have a similar slide that we show every May. We should have shown it this past November, because there were questions for it.
Yeah.
But the bottom line, I think we all get it. No matter how much you're paying, it's, you know, everybody would like to pay less, you know, and I get that. But the bottom line is, we are a very full service community, when you look at Bellingham, as far as the services that we have. And we do have, forget about values and rates. We have the lowest residential tax burden, not just in the county, but in the region as a whole. And all anyone has to do is go to the Department of Revenue website and look for it for yourself. You don't have to take our word for it.
So we've been saying that for years.
We have been,
We've
yeah.
been telling people that for years. Go and look.
Well-
Look for yourself. Go and do your homework.
Think about, we have an aging community. We've been talking about this for 10 years. We don't see many senior citizens leaving this town, me included, right? There just aren't a lot of, they're not leaving because it's affordable and we have wonderful services for our seniors in this town.
Mhm.
I know folks from other towns that actually come to our senior center. They have friends in Bellingham and they come with them because actually the services we just have more to offer as a town. We have a lot more and we should be very proud of it, and I think we are here on the board, for sure. Well, I don't know if we're at the point, but I have looked at this. And I've been on the past year's board and part of the 89 not changing, there were reasons, pros and cons, but when I look at the override that we did, we heard that loud and clear at the town meeting, someone called it a $4 million override, it was 750,000.
I know.
That's okay, that's just the way it is. I mean, the person was emotional and they were excited and they were just trying to understand, no big deal. But I'm actually in favor of the shift, going to 0.87. I really am. That's my personal opinion, and going from 0.89 to 0.87. Let's shift the burden from, to our residents. We've already asked them for more money on the override. I would just prefer to say, you know what, let's give a little bit back. And we have, strong industrial development. We have strong, listen, these plazas, I went to Market Basket this morning at 7 AM because I knew I didn't want to go anywhere near it later on. But yes, did I forget something? Yes. So I went back at 11 o'clock and I couldn't even get in the parking lot. So I'm like, this is nuts. So we know that all these businesses in Bellingham, where they're situated, are doing really, really well. And not that I just think they should share more of the burden. We have people coming from out of town, going to those commercial developments and going to Whole Foods, et cetera. They're using our roads, et cetera. I just think that we shift a little bit more to the business side and less on our residents. So I'm making a recommendation. We talk about the factor, but I think we should go from 0.89 to 0.87. You've done the modeling. What do you think, Betsy?
I think my job will be a lot easier if you go to a 0.87.
87?
I think it's not that it's our decision, but I
No.
think it's a fair decision.
You think it's a fair decision?
I do.
Okay.
It's, the whole reason for it is to offset the increases. Values are going up about 7% in the
Yeah.
residential sector. I think this will make our jobs a lot easier in January if you shift a little bit more into the businesses. And we still have the small business exemption. So the smaller businesses,
Smaller businesses would be all right. That's always my worry. is the
so
smaller
there's 70 on there right now.
Not the mega businesses.
No, but there's
No.
70 on there now, and that doesn't mean that there's not more that aren't eligible. It's just, you got to get them to apply.
Right,
And a lot of times landlords, because they pass it on to their tenants, sometimes they're not motivated. But I actually think it's a wise decision to shift a little bit more.
And the numbers I was looking at, it's like Mr. Martinez mentioned that, it's some of the overrides, obviously, some of the things that, will be adjusted.
Yeah.
And so actually, this is kind of will offset that and then give a little relief to the residents. In my opinion, and then you're in a favor of it, and then, Mr. Martinez just mentioned that, and I like to hear the ladies. And anything else you wanna add, Jen? Sebastian?
I'm just mindful of the small businesses, and if, take your word for it, that we've got them under control and that they're.
Yeah.
Not gonna be, I want someone to come here too, and open a small business, and I want them to be motivated to stay here as well, so.
Right, when I see a business that is not on the list, I mention it if I know the people. In the olden days, Jerry Mayhew used to drive around town and give applications to businesses if they weren't on the list. It's a confidential list. I wish more people knew about it, but, we do what we can. If it's a small mom and pop, anything small under 10, get the word out. It's available. It's a simple form. And
What can
once you're on it, you're on it.
Put it on our
Yeah,
Facebook
what can we
page.
do to get it out there so that more people know, more small businesses know about it?
We tried years ago, the Bellingham Business Bureau, but the problem is most of the businesses came and not the landlords.
Right.
So, and the problem also is that many of the businesses that did come were in strip malls that automatically pushed them over the $1 million mark. So it's, they're not going to get the benefit of it. It's really the small, like people like Davis Bos Hair Design, the insurance company, mixed use properties. Anybody that's got, a portion of their business in their home. These are the people that benefit. The Bellingham Business Bureau, as I said, they came to me and they got a meeting together, but it wasn't fruitful because of who attended. Which were the businesses, not the owners.
Yeah.
Tell everybody,
I am on the BBA,
Oh.
so we can maybe address that.
Yeah.
in the future.
You just let them know that this is available.
Just regenerate the information.
Yeah.
So maybe we can get a sense of that.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks
So
for
we
the
can send
information.
something to Sue Grady too, and Sue can blast it out to the membership as a whole. Sue does a good job with that, so.
She does do a good job.
Yeah.
I could also do a little
Yeah.
study when I get back of the array of 300 class up to the $1 million level and do a cross-reference of who's on it and who isn't.
Yeah.
And is some of those who aren't may have more than 10 full-time employees, which is why they were not contained on the list from the DET. But of course, I'll work with you on that.
Absolutely. I look forward to it.
And we've got time.
Yeah.
So we have until April.
Okay.
Does anybody have any other questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I'm very much in favor of the small business, which is why I brought it before, because they're the individuals that, sponsor a soccer team
They do
or a
everything.
girls softball team or a little league team. And if we save them $200 in taxes, they might just move that money over to one of these, organizations that need a little help. They're the ones that are doing it. We don't see Market Basket and the rest of them, spending money to sponsor a team for $250 and help these
Right.
kids.
Well, the
So-
list is what happened last year is public information. It's just like the content of the letter that we got is not. So I'd be happy to work with you on that.
Great.
We'll do, what do we call it? Reach out. We'll try to get I can tell you, most people, all of Pulaski's on it.
Yeah, okay.
So I'd like to make a a motion
Yeah,
Okay.
I
to,
think we should.
to shift the tax rate to 0.87.
We have a second?
A second.
So we got first, we got second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Do we need 5 votes, Dennis?
No,
Because that's what I heard, how do you
that's-
say that at the
No, you
beginning?
just need a
So it's
majority.
majority.
Okay, she did 5,
We'll do
okay.
it.
I didn't remember that.
So the next thing you need to do is reaffirm the small business exemption of 10%. That requires a motion as well.
Somebody would like to make a motion?
I think it's right here. Mr. I'm gonna make a motion to reaffirm the small business exemption of 10%.
Okay, we got a motion. Anybody? Second. So we got first, we got second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No nays?
The next one,
Yeah, and then I'll make a motion to affirm no residential exception.
A second.
And we got first, we got second. Any questions? No? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, perfect.
yeah, we
Ayes
did the
have it.
residential factor.
Very
Good, that is, we need to, the certain amount of water debt that we exempt every year is the same debt, it's $707,853.
So moved.
We got second?
Second.
We got first, we got second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it.
And when we're ready to end the meeting, actually, we should do it now
Continue.
to continue the meeting to next Monday, which is December 2nd.
December second, yep.
Yeah.
And we'll say at 7 PM.
7 PM, yep.
Was there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We got first, we got second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
I just have one item, if I could, Mr. Chairman. I passed it out, the opera project funds return approval. I'm sorry, we should, thank our,
Thanks.
Oh, yeah.
thank our
Very much, ladies, great work. Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
And also before you leave, I wish you a happy, wonderful Thanksgiving with your family. If I don't see you before then.
Look at that.
And, thank you very much for all the work you have done.
I hope everybody gets the wishbone on Thursday.
Safe
Yeah.
travel. Betsy,
Thank
safe
you.
travel.
Thank you.
Anyone else traveling?
Say hi to
Safe
your
travel.
I'll be back.
All right, good.
Bye, Billy.
Yeah.
All right, everybody.
One quick item, if you've got a copy of it, it's on the opera, we have $53,995.36 that was left over from one of the paving projects, the Standish Road, Cedar Hill Road project had, came in under budget. So what we need to do is send that back to the county and then request to reallocate it. So the first step is to send it back, then we can go ahead and request to reallocate. So you'll have something before you in the next meeting or two requesting that those funds be reallocated. And we're winding down with our ARPA funds, so it's getting, down to the nitty gritty here. So the prepared motion is there for you, if someone would make that motion.
I move, Mr. Chairman, I'll move that the
Yes, ma'am.
Board of Selectmen approve those unlisted funds to be returned to Norfolk County. You want me to name the funds?
No, I just need a second.
Second,
We got first, we got second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Perfect.
There's nothing else. I know we had the chapter, I'm sorry, the chapter 61 B, the Maple Street property there. So there is some conversations going on between our attorney and their attorney. And we are trying to see if there isn't an ability to either get an easement for right to use that open space that's gonna
That's
be
awesome.
generated.
it would be great.
Or if they're reasonable about some sort of, a
Dog park.
modest purchase for that. So we're looking at what the options are.
Me and my dog
Hopefully
park.
we'll have that soon.
That's awesome. That would be great. Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes from November 4th, 2024.
Second,
We have first, we got second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, ayes have it. Any old business, new business? Anything from TA, Town Administrative Report?
Both of the candidates that we had requested have the background check done. They both have
Yep.
signed off on that form, and that process is moving forward. So next Monday night, we'll have those, we'll have
That's
that
awesome.
information for you.
Okay, that'd be
Yeah,
great.
We'll have it to you as soon as we can get it, but obviously to show you.
That's
Thank you.
perfect.
Yeah.
If there is nothing else, and then it means, we fulfill our agenda.
Mr.
And
Chairman, I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
no, we're keeping that public meeting.
Yep.
yeah, it's gonna,
Sorry,
we're
second.
gonna
You're
convene
right.
in the next meeting.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, and we got first, we got second. We adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, ayes have it, and I wish old Bellingham have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Have a happy Thanksgiving,
Happy
everybody.
Thanksgiving.
Go
Are you-
Hawks.
where are you?
I am going to
Thank you.
7 Stone Street.
Have a fantastic evening.